It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard. You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him.
It really boils down to our ability to accept. We don't need pessimism.
What he means by pessimism is resistance. And that's what COINTELPRO was all about, stopping the resistance.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change.
We hide it in plain sight. One of Plato's greatest works was the allegory of the cave. I feel in order to understand the political matrix, we need only to look into this allegory. We first have to open our minds to the possibility everything is not as it seems, that things we've always known to be truth may be lies. For if we can't perceive the lies we've ingested, we can't see the bars on our mental conditioning. For that is how you walk out of the cave and see the political matrix. Hello. This is Political Matrix. I'm your host, Marcus Morpheus Cage. Here with I guess a unique type of show. I wanted to get into the Trump assassination, and I kind of just had a couple other things that I had here and there, and I was like, you know what? Let's just toss all this stuff aside. And just kind of focused on Trump assassinations in general and assassinations. Um, and I guess just I'll see where the conversation goes. As you guys know, there was just recently an assassination attempt. Um, and I guess I use that loosely when I think of it because it didn't say what the actual goal was or attempt. At least, I haven't read the manifesto myself, so I don't know what they're saying. But the shooting started outside of the ballroom. None of it actually happened on the inside. And why would somebody, I don't know. Let's just wait a second before I get all the way into it. Let's see. Son of Clay started, I guess I'll read this one. Started off with, I just want to know, is there anyone anywhere who makes less than 100K a year who's upset by this? I don't think anybody's upset by it, really. And if you look at some of the people of the Trump administration, I don't know how upset they are or not. Well, no, I just kind of wanted us go through a whole bunch of different, you know, angles and just think about it. Um, I want to see if I can find. 1 second, I'm waiting for my X to open up. Um, it's so weird how they calls it X because it sounds like you're saying so many other things and it's so poorly named. But X account. Now then when you say X account, that sounds like you're talking about an old account. Screw it, I'm just gonna call it Twitter. Going into Elon Musk's Twitter, I had a response that I wanted to read because I responded to somebody's post. Let's see, where are my replies? I'm not as good at navigating this thing. But let's see if I can find it. Here, let's go to myself, my replies, and I guess I'll put this on the screen. Let's see, where are we at? And so, all right, there we go. I got my replies up. I will add this to the screen, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. And I'm leading right in because I I don't know, this is just the main topic, and it's so exhausting right now covering, news under the Trump administration because it's flooded with so many different, BS stories. And since his administration is probably the least transparent administration ever because the man says one thing and then recounts it, and then somebody else says something that nobody is proper messaging, nobody is like speaking with a united voice. And Trump himself goes back and forth within his own speeches. So it's hard to take anything the man says to be a straight anything. So it's tough. Um, so let me pull up this post, this response, which I said to somebody. This person said, so it was Night Watch N8 says, so why does Secret Service violate protocol at the White House Correspondents' Dinner when faced with imminent threat? They evacuate JD Vance before POTUS Donald J. Trump. And to my response to him says, protection details are assigned to specific people to limit confusion. President, VP, and their families all have assigned to them. They all have assigned to them and have a duty rotation. The better question is, why is the detail assigned to Trump taking longer to get him out? And I'll extend that a little bit more. When you're talking about the Secret Service, and it's not like I've worked in the Secret Service, I'm not trying to say that. But I've gotten to see how they work up close and personal a couple of times. And one thing I'll say is the Secret Service, literally, there is a crew of people who are only working with the president. There's a group of people who are only working with the vice president and going through their wives and their children. There's also Secret Service details which are handling former administrations, i.e., Obama, Bush, and members of their family also have Secret Service details to varying degrees. Some maybe have, one or two officers which just follow them. A lot of times the families lose their Secret Service protection once they've moved on from the presidency. But former presidents all continue to have Secret Service details, which are operated by, whoever's in charge of the Secret Service, no matter which president. Let's see. Somebody asks, do I like Trump? I ask you, do you like Trump? And we'll go from there. See, do you think they're Elizabeth? I guess answer your first question. Do you like Trump? And then we'll go from there. I see Mariah's in the building. What's up, Mariah? Says reptiles, reptilians, they're all related. Okay, interesting. Say what's up, Accord Lord. And to anybody else who's out there in the chat, welcome to the stream. And any topics or whatever that you guys want to talk about. I'm kind of leaving the show open. Also, any kind of like theories or anything that you want to say is involving this assassination attempt, lay your theories and thoughts out there. I'm curious to know what people are thinking more in a time like this. There's a gazillion ways. My mindset, how I look at something like this, is I look at every practical implication. If this is an actual assassination attempt, if it's not an actual assassination attempt, if it was, what happened with this, what happened with that. And I just try to look at it, especially myself. I see myself as coming from not somebody who's on the Democratic team or the Republican team and wanting this to go a certain way. Whichever way the truth lays, that's what I go with. And I don't really care which side it benefits or disadvantages. I just try to go for what do I think is happening here. And am I going to say that I'm completely impartial? No, I'm not going to say that. That would be a lie. I don't think anybody's completely impartial. What I will say is I do try to look at all the evidence from an impartial standpoint and go from there. So Anthony says, Trump's all right, I guess. I think he was the best choice for the last two elections. Okay, fair enough. Um, not saying he's great. Anthony says, not saying he's great, but I do like some of the things he does and stands for. Okay. I mean, to each his own. I mean, personally, if you're asking me, I'm not a fan of Trump. Um, but that's my opinion. Um, so what when I was so to go back to what I was saying with the different details and how this stuff is broken apart. Um, the better question is, why did Trump's detail take longer to get him out than JD Vance's detail? That could be that JD Vance's detail was closer to him, which is a problem that, both of the details are not in proper staging and they're not in the right place to where they're supposed to be. But there's also um, one thing that I brought up. Let's say, for instance, let's just focus on Trump's detail right now. And I'm looking at all the perspectives, and I know everybody says, "Is this possible that that it's staged?" I'm going from the possibility that it's staged to the possibility that it's not staged. And so I'm keeping all these things on the table because ultimately it's up for you guys who are listening to make the decision and to decide, what do you think it is? I'm not going to dare try to tell anybody how they should think or feel on any of these things. I'm just going to give my assessment. Let's see. Anthony says something else here. I like this engaging chat. Says, but also think JD Vance may be bigger. I think part of it is because JD Vance is in better shape, and it's a lot easier to run to a target, say, "All right, we got the asset secure, move," and everybody moves in concert. When you're dealing with an older person who's typically out of shape, it's not going to be as just easy to just get them up and move. Also, depending on what's going on right around Trump, how many people that are around him, there could be more confusion going on with other people yelling and screaming and communications and orders not getting through properly. That can be another thing. So every situation is not created equally. Another thing, it could be where they are on the stage could be harder for an extraction. Now, I would think, just looking from what I'm seeing, I don't think that's the case. Also, if we're looking at on the other side of Trump is where the threat is supposed to be coming from, they may have wanted to keep him positioned downward so they can get more assets around him to get him out, whereas they didn't feel as threatened on JD Vance because he's further away from where the attack is supposedly coming from. But in a situation like this, just because you see an attack from one direction, you shouldn't assume that's where the only threat is coming from. Um, if this was actually really, planned to go after, I would think a smarter way to go about it is to always assume that there are multiple attackers. So that's why I'm like, there's things about this that's just, I don't know, are weird. You could also say that, on the Trump side, that they took longer to get him out because maybe his detail isn't as good. Maybe the people assigned to him, or because they can assign people to units because they feel like this person is more qualified, on paper. This person has maybe the politics that's kissed the right ass to be there, or maybe the president has had these people around before and said, you know what, I want this person on my detail. It does happen sometimes like that. So just all those things could indicate that this person may not be the best qualified person on, the most important asset. Just things to kind of factor in when you're just assessing the situation without assessing, any kind of biases. Another thing is the detail could have done everything that they were supposed to do. And it is staged. So that's the reason why they took longer to and allow for something to possibly happen, a secondary attack. Um, I don't know if that would be the case. That doesn't make the most sense to me. Um, because if you look, i- the Trump's detail was around him and secured him. It looked like they waited for additional uh armed assets to come and cover also. And that could be because they wanted to make sure that there wasn't a secondary attack, that that was a distraction, especially since that person started shooting outside of where, the attack happened. So just putting on, some of my experience and things like this and how I would look at this type of situation, especially doing a threat assessment. Um, Another thing is there is also the people who feel like this is staged, and let's just go from that standpoint. I'm not saying which way I lean on this just yet. Um, because I just want my analysis to be out there and get everything on the table. And this is also through laying out my analysis. This is how I get to the viewpoint that I have on the topic. Um, I do know that it is kind of interesting that we would have an attack right around the same time that there has been so much questioning of the Butler assassination. I thought that that was very, very interesting. There have been so many content creators which I've seen, which were, I would say, formerly part of MAGA or at least part of, what is it, Maha. I've seen a lot of people who were part of that who, um, some of them, I'll say, to be honest, did question the initial assassination attempt in Butler, and some of them who didn't, who that was the reason which made them rally more and more around Trump. Um, I was one of those people who felt it was very fishy, and I called that out here on the show. I remember, I think that that was a show where I was in Florida with Chris, and we covered that one like almost instantly. And that one just never sat right with me. I felt that a lot of things did not make sense, and a lot of people went back and forth on both sides explaining why they felt like it was legitimate and why it wasn't. Um, one thing that I remember being, being a young petty officer in the Navy, one of the times they used George W. Bush. Um, I guess one of his campaign stops was there at my base, and they used the ship that I was stationed on, the USS DeWert, as a backdrop ship. And there's a picture with George Bush speaking, and I'm probably like 4 rows up behind him. And while I was sitting there, God is my witness, I sat there the whole time counting snipers, Secret Service members, where their locations were, ones which were completely in all tactical gear, like you saw the guys rushing the stage in all black, to the ones who were wearing the suits, to the ones which were wearing undercover gear. Um, and just the securing which the Secret Service did days before the president even arrived, and all the checks that went on throughout, that week running up to, um running up to George W. Bush being there was, it was eye opening. In fact, I wonder if I can find that. I don't know if I can or not, but let's see. Let's see, George W. Bush. USS. Gosh, I remember probably easily 10 years ago, Google used to be so much more reliable. I'm trying to see. Just a quick search. Yeah, it keeps showing the aircraft carrier one, which that is not the right one. No, I guess I'm not finding it on initial. It's on my Facebook, but not here. In fact, let's see. fact, that might be faster if I just find it through my phone. And pictures, photos. But what I saw is, I mean, just the level of alertness that I saw with the Secret Service makes me question a lot of what I've seen, and that's what's made me kind of lean towards the more this stuff is staged kind of um I guess position, because seeing how well the Secret Service operated then, it's hard for me to fathom that they would be this sloppy as they are now. And that could be a bias in my own head that I'm seeing. It could be, hold on, I think it could be the case that, you know what, maybe because there wasn't an official attack, that I didn't see them, break down the way I've seen them break down in these other ones. And so that's what's kind of made me lean more towards the hypothetical that, you know what, this is not on the up and up. Hmm, where is this at? Maybe I don't have it in my pictures. I got it somewhere. Well, anyway, let me hop back over to the chat. Oh, sorry, wrong screen, wrong screen, wrong screen. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Says a core lord says, I want to know why Wolf Blitzer was locked in the bathroom with what? See, you guys are crazy. Wesley says, I'm fairly convinced it was staged. Says I guess let me scare that on the screen too. It says the almost immediate announcement of a press conference to occur only 30 minutes after this event serves to raise suspicion. I thought that was very weird too. Great point that you brought up, Wesley. Why in the heck is there a press conference so soon after? Another thing that I was saying back on the whole Butler, Pennsylvania thing is I just thought it was weird that, like, if I survived a close assassination attempt, there would be a diligent, you know, investigation. And not only that, I probably wouldn't be able to stop talking about it and stop bringing it up in almost every other, stump speech. But how Trump just kind of like, all right, move on to the next thing, as if it was not a big deal. And I remember people at times saying, "Well, why would he why would he take the chance of a bullet whizzing that close past his ear?" I'm like, for one, I didn't say that I believe a bullet struck his ear. I don't believe glass hit his ear. I don't believe anything hit his ear. To be honest, I believe it was complete stage, complete false. And people say, "Well, what about Corey?" I never said it's beyond them to not take out somebody to make their false flag look real. I'm not saying I know that for a fact, but I don't rule it out. I don't rule it out that all of that is, propaganda behind him. That this Corey person could have been a complete, made up fixture. I don't rule any of that out. I also don't know for a fact, so don't pull a Alex Jones, on me and think that I'm inciting people to go and hunt down his family and harass them. But with this administration, I just can't trust anything. And if people think, like I've said before, if people think it's just because of some politics that I have a beef with Trump, or that I have issues with Trump, or that I'm not fond of Trump, I haven't been fond of Trump since before he was in office. I thought he was mildly entertaining. I did like his show, The Apprentice, but I didn't. As I grew older, I didn't like Trump for what I thought of him as a person in general, because I read his books. I've seen his lawsuits that he's had over the years. And I've always just thought he's not a very intelligent person. I mean, I don't like any. I'm not a fan of people who are very arrogant and very simplistic. Ryan says here. Let me put Ryan's on the screen. Says inside job. There's a photo of Trump standing at the side of the stage as Stephen Miller is running away. I completely agree with you, Ryan. I just don't buy this. And then you saw all of those MAGA influencers, which are still in the Trump train, all come out with coordinated messages directly after, all talking about the ballroom. I mean, I saw other people's tweets on here before that was saying, I knew something was going down because, for one, Trump never goes to any of these press dinners. I think he's only maybe been to one before this one. And then also the one that was before the one that he went to was where Obama like berated him. And I know this is when you're dealing with very thin-skinned people, that one time that they were embarrassed sticks with them. Even though for the rest of us, oh, okay, yeah, he says some comments, ha ha ha, whatever. To them, things like that stick with them. The fact that Trump sits up all night long reading social media shows he is deeply, deeply concerned with his image and what people think. And I think as more people started questioning Butler, I think as more people question, was it the 2 or 3 attempts at Mar-a-Lago? I think that for him, he's felt like, well, it helped me in Butler. Why don't I try it again? And it's very easy also to help with the distraction right now from all the war talk stuff. I mean, I really think this administration kind of moves from news cycle to news cycle. And they're just constantly throwing a lot of stuff out there to kind of just give a distraction. I don't really, I don't put, that's the thing. And I know some people in MAGA or like, yeah, but Trump style, you guys don't get it. By him saying this and saying that, it throws people off, so they don't know how to negotiate or counteract him. Man, it's just being strategic. And I'm like, but we're the United States of America. We're literally one of the strongest nations, if not the strongest nation that's ever existed. You don't have to do that. It's a reason why, like Michael Jordan would literally tell you, I'm going to go to my right and then go to my right because I'm good enough that I can do this to you and there's nothing you can do about it. The United States has went in and cooed leaders and set up color revolutions all over the world and done all kinds of things without people being able to stop us. There's no reason now to try to play this weird, I'm going to play strategical, am I telling the truth here or not telling the truth there? No, what they would do, many presidents before, they would sit there and they would go to their war room or whatever, negotiate what they decided they were going to do. They would lay out their plan, start setting all these things in order, then walk to the podium and then tell them what they were going to do. And they didn't have to play these weird little games. And, for the most part, most of the population was fine with that. And they felt like we might not agree with what's going on in DC, regardless of the parties, but at least we felt a steady hand is at the helm. And this doesn't feel steady at all. That's what I'm saying. Funny. Coincidentally, he canceled a meeting. Glad you brought that up. Said coincidentally, he canceled a meeting with Iran as well. They had a better idea to direct from the Iran debacle. I think that they're buying time as much as possible. And I don't know how much is going to work because anybody who's really following it knows the barrel prices and what's going on at the gas pumps and in the economy at some point is going to have to match up. You can't have a giant discrepancy of anywhere from $30 to $40 a barrel discrepancy with the oil markets and futures. That's eventually going to that reality is going to manifest. And many people said that the last reserves have gotten here, and we should be starting to see those shortages manifest themselves within, you know, a few days or so. I don't know. I think, and this is what I'll say: if by May 1st we're not seeing some massive increases and all that, then I'm willing to say, you know what, hey guys, you know what? I've been out there fear mongering and just scared people for nothing. You know what? I'll zip it up. I was wrong, but I fear that I'm not going to be wrong, and it's not about even I told you so or not. I basically more care that we're paying attention, and the people who listen to my voice, if I can say anything that can give you the ability to maybe save yourself some more money on putting some gas in your car, or going to get these things or these resources. So if shit does hit the fan, none of you are out there struggling, and none of your families are having to deal with any kind of additional hardship. That's what I care more about. It's not necessarily about being right or wrong, or trying to be first, or trying to be the biggest YouTuber. None of that crap. I mostly care about people when it comes down to it. And that's why I do this, because I feel incumbent upon me, if I see something, to try to voice my opinion on those things. Maybe it can help with something, you know. But if I'm wrong, I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. Let's see. Wesley says the Lego animation was almost as fast as the press conference, which that's wild. I did notice a new one that came out. I haven't watched it yet, but it's interesting. Let's see. K Moore. Would you prefer a Democrat president right now over Trump? Even though I don't like the Democrats, yes, honestly, I prefer a lot of people over Trump. I don't like the insecurity that Trump leaves. It feels very sketchy and dangerous that anything can go wrong at any given time. And I'm perfectly fine with dealing with the shortcomings of the Democrats than dealing with us possibly going into a World War III type situation. Me being a vet, and also having younger family members who are active duty, the last thing I want them doing is going into any war. And so, yes, if I had a president who was not a war hawk and not trying to run us into another war, I would definitely far prefer that. So, I mean, you can call me whatever you want after that, but I just think that that's something that I don't believe is advantageous to us. Yeah, Cash Patel, I do believe will be. I mean, Cash Patel is a permanent face of snitching. I wonder how long before Cash Patel is out. Also, that is something I definitely wonder about. Um, let's see. Another thing that I kind of wonder about this thing. Yeah, this feels like another psyop. I wonder if this is just trying to get the ballroom pushed. I agree. That's one thing I'll definitely agree with you on. No matter who's in charge, half the internet is disappointed. I think that's 1000% true. And there's things which, let's say Kamala would have been one. I'm guaranteeing you, I would be complaining about stuff that Kamala is doing right now. I guarantee you that. I just rank my priorities on what I care more about. Like, for instance, let's take it to a home situation. If I was having plumbing issues, and okay, I'm having to call a plumber every 5 minutes, I would rather deal with that situation than possibly not having a home. And that's how I look at this situation. The situation which Trump is run into is with all this uncertainty. I think that he's doing things that can be lasting harm on the country. Whereas, though I didn't agree with a George W. Bush, and I do think that he did a lot of things that kind of harm the country, I don't feel it was as existential as what I see under a Trump administration. Um, and the same thing I would say with with Reagan. I don't think it was literally putting the United States, continental United States, in danger. Um, I don't feel like it was as divisive under those previous administrations. Um, and even with Obama being, so big on deporting so many different people, uh, I felt like the way it's been done under the Trump administration is just done. It's not done for the effect of actual, deportations and all that. I feel it's done with a little bit of malice and a little bit of, anger, a little bit of, um, dare I say, bigotry. That's my issue. You see the Michael movie? Which Michael movie? Dominique. Wesley says early on, I wonder if Iran has some information on the format of Trump's intel briefings. I don't. Well, that's the thing. Even if they did have some kind of information, how do you know what to go off of? When just let's take for instance that negotiation that they were going to go to Pakistan. You literally have 4 or 5 different major news outlets reporting different things. You got 4 or 5 different people out of the Trump administration saying different things. You got Trump himself saying multiple different things. How do you know what is what? Which leaves for massive uncertainty when there's no coordinated message. Nobody knows what the hell is really true in this day and age. Now, I know there's always kind of been an argument on, okay, this is the detail, and now we'll argue about what the implications are. But right now, I feel like nothing, there's no, okay, here's a true statement, like, water is wet, air is windy, like that stuff's not even a truth anymore. Everything is up for debate at this point. I feel like it's a distraction, but at the same time, I don't feel like it's a distraction. I feel like it's a distraction just because people don't like the optics of what's going on with the war right now, and I think also with a lot of people questioning the previous assassination attempts. I think that there's a distraction wanted and desire, but at the same time, it's not really needed because I don't feel there's anything that's going to happen that's going to stop anything that's going on. So it's not like it needs to be a distraction. I think they're just doing it because they feel that some kind of benefit that happens from this. Um, Here, I'm gonna read this one. Says Marcus, I want to apologize for the Ashley Gonzalez video. Not all of us are like that. I understand. And I thank you for saying that. Um, One channel that I like to listen to a lot. I think his name is Richard Ignacio. Um, and he was going on just you know how it's embedded dealing with some of the racism coming out of the Latino community, and it has a lot to do, I feel, with the caste system and things like that that were pushed, and that's a whole nother conversation. Um, and I do know that all Latinos are not like that, but I do know that there are Latinos, a lot of Latinos who are like that, and so I just think that it's best, especially in this 2026 age, to be vigilant and careful of all people at all times. As they say, when you step in the ring, protect yourselves at all times, and that's what it feels like 2026 is about. You are not safe from anybody at any point. What's up, John? John is in the building. Look like you're growing your hair out a little bit. MAGA says MAGA accounts on Twitter are almost simultaneously talking about the need for the ballroom. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. And I saw somebody try to do a little bit of pushback to say, oh, well, look, all these Democrats came out saying that they were infected with COVID and they're going to take some time away. And if you looked at like the screenshots, all of these were from different times. And also saying that you got COVID, I don't think that's kind of a weird coordinated thing. I mean, at my job, a lot of people got COVID. I didn't get vaccinated, and literally didn't. I didn't get. I didn't get COVID until like the very, very, very end. And so I think that that was kind of a weird flex when I saw people try to put that up. But it was weird how so many people all came out talking about the ballroom, especially after Trump literally mentioned the ballroom, like, right. I mean, all of that was like he said it, and then a minute later, like 15 major, MAGA accounts were all saying the exact same thing. It's just weird to me. Let's see. Kurt Boss Messiah. He says, "Put me back in the psych ward. I can't take any more of this." I feel you. I feel you, my man. It's too much. Can we just calm this shit down a little? It's like every day we have to be chalked with drama. And I miss the times where I didn't have to pay attention to every single thing that's going on all the time. And it gets exhausting. Um, I know in doing this content creating stuff and doing news and politics and commentary for over the years I've been doing it, whenever Trump is in office, oh my god, you're about to get a fucking workout because it's nonstop stuff all the time. And it gets so hard to kind of gets so hard to sometimes format a show, especially when you do only like a once a week show. Which news? I'm gonna I guess put this out here, and I'll make sure to put out a reminder later on in the show. Talking to one of my cousins, shout out to Ladarius. Um, I am going to start doing little videos throughout the week, and so I'm reacting to more things. And I'm thinking I'm going to try my best to keep them down to 5-minute videos. So daily, as some of this stuff comes out, because there's been so much more stuff coming out, and I feel like by the time the end of the week has come out, so many people have already spoke on it that I feel it's kind of just a waste for me to say anything at that point. Or sometimes I feel you may have already heard some of your other favorite content creators already say what I'm saying. So what's the point of me bringing it up by the end of the week? But I'm going to start, I'm going to start dropping videos. And hopefully tomorrow I'll probably start with that on whatever random stories that I see that catch my attention. That way, once I free it up for the end of the week, we can kind of do a recap of some of the stuff that I talked about. And if any kind of major stories like this happen where they take up so much oxygen, be able to, dedicate the show to just talking about that in general, and not doing my kind of normal setup of maybe 4 or 5 main topics, talk about those for 20, 30 minutes, and then move on to the next one. And I think it'll also help with cutting up clips for this down the road. But yeah, I mean, Kurt, I'm with you. I just wish this would just calm down for my own mental health. Rondo says he thinks this is going to create some sort of sympathy. This is the top of him moving cannabis to Schedule 3 last week. They're distracted from something bad. I think, well, the something bad that's coming, we already know it's all coming. It's once we start seeing the sticker shock from what's going on with this war, that's the something bad. And the fact that there is no way to extricate, us out of this conflict. Um, in order for us to like actually stop this whole thing is a couple of things which I don't see ability for the Trump administration to do. One, to say, you know what, I've kind of screwed up on this, and I got to give. I got to give concessions, and I just got to take this as a L. I don't see Trump. I do not see the Trump administration ever, ever, ever being able to admit fault, being wrong, or to admit a loss. And because he's so unwilling to admit a loss, or to admit a mistake or a screw up, there's no way to back out of this situation. And I feel like if we did that, I feel like there's a possibility the straits could be open right up, and this turns into an Israel versus versus Iran situation. Um, that would be one way out of it. The other way would be to force Israel to behave, to force Israel to leave Lebanon alone, to force Israel concessions on ending their attack and brutalization and terror campaign throughout the Middle East. And mainly what they're doing in Gaza and what they're doing in Lebanon. That's I don't see the United States ever growing a spine or a backbone to doing that. So since they can't do that and they can't admit fault, it's going to be stuck in the same situation. And as long as they keep the strait closed, and eventually you know, if the Houthis, close the other side, that's going to ratchet up, and we could be looking at anywhere from, I guess, what they say, 20% for the Strait of Hormuz, and was it Babel? I can't remember what it's called. But the one in the Red Sea, that's looking at what is that, like another 10-15% or something like that. So we're looking at probably 30% of the global oil supply being down. I don't see how we stop that situation, especially with our weapons are getting lower and lower and lower. I don't see how we stop that situation other than, capitulating. And because of pride and arrogance, I don't see us ever getting to that situation. Yes, the Michael Jackson movie, I look forward to that, definitely. He said, I never got the COVID jab. I got the Omicron variant early 22 and never got the COVID again. Yeah, I got that like the last weakest version, and I was sick for I felt like sick and weak for like a day, and then I was good. But when all the other like serious strands were going on, A and B and whatever, I watched all these other people around me getting sick, staying sick multiple times. I mean, one of my bosses got sick like 6 times, and he was vaccinated. I'm not gonna rehash all the COVID stuff, but I don't really believe. Even then, I didn't believe. I was like, if COVID affects people differently, it affects every single person differently. Some people no symptoms, some people mild symptoms, some people heavy symptoms, some people it's almost like a death sentence. How are you going to know how a vaccine is going to affect each person and how much that vaccine reduced, helped, or hurt the process? There's no way to have evidence to be able to prove, either direction. So I always thought that was insane when I hear people, just regurgitate, "Oh, if you take it, it's going to reduce the symptoms." I'm like, how do you know when each person is different? How do you know how that's going to affect anybody? You don't know. You're lying to people. And the fact of you don't know what that's going to do to people, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now. You don't know what the effects of that might do because you haven't ran it through any of the normal trials and testings which you did to any other drug before. I mean, simple aspirin, which all of us have taken or take, if you look into the research on how long it took before they approved aspirin through the FDA to say, you know what, hey, this is safe for normal use, and all the side effects that you could possibly have from it. How long it took for them to do the research on that, and you're going to just throw some crap together and then tell me, oh, it's good, take it. Fuck out of here. Let's see. Yeah, I look forward to the Michael Jackson movie, definitely. Said now that psychedelics have been legalized, we can see the extra chest dimensions. Yeah. Let's see. What was that? Shadow Pop. Interesting name. That's happened only with Trump. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I don't know what I was saying at the time to where that was fitting, but sorry I missed your comment. Wesley says Novak's here. I got sick as hell in February 2020. Natural immunity saw me through. Exactly. I'm like, why are we now speaking negatively on natural immunity and herd immunity and stuff like that? Why did all of a sudden during that couple of years everything which came to science got flipped on its head? I'm sure y'all have answers, but we won't say. Sad we need Iranian Lego videos to get the more truth out. I honestly think that they can get more truth out than that. I think that, I mean, it's sad to say that I actually trust the information that is coming out from all the other foreign governments far more than I do our government. And it's because they literally will get up there in one press briefing in the same sentence and say contradicting things and expect for nobody to catch up. Now I get it. You can stay in your bubble and try to protect your guy, but here's one thing that I've noticed that's a difference between people who will vote for a Trump or lean to the right or lean to the left. People who voted for Biden, many of them are not willing to die on the hill for Biden on every freaking thing that he says. And I'm talking about the most diehard Democrats. They're not riding for Obama. They're not riding for Biden. They're not riding for any Democrat, Clinton, the way people are riding for Trump. And I think that I think that a lot of people on the right don't get that. They think when you diss somebody, some Democrat, that's gonna like equally like make people who support Democrats butthurt. Is like, no, that's weird. Even though I'm no longer a Democrat, and I don't know how long it's been since I think I changed my party affiliation to independent. Actually, I know when it was. It was when I first, right after I got out here to California. So I want to say it's been like 8 years since I've been an independent. And even then, I was one of those people who like voted for Democrats being in a purple state and just felt disgusting the next day afterwards. See, let's see. There was a UK and US series called Utopia that was pretty much about the COVID situation. UK was before, but the US was during. Yes, I know. I shared one of the clips from Utopia and almost got this damn channel like yanked. The episode that we shared, we got a copyright strike. And you know how sometimes you get a copyright strike where the copyright strike tells you, you need to take out copyrighted content out of your video, or this video needs to be, any kind of music, whatever. They didn't give the option. They just yanked the video down. I remember the live stream got stopped mid live stream. And I got a strike on the channel and was not able to upload or go live for a month on this channel. Let's see. Flipping the script. Yeah, I guess I can stop. I guess I can get that off the loop. I'm just wondering, like, is there anybody who's listening to this who believes that this was a real assassination? I'm curious. Hey, Mariah, I see you in the chats. What's up? Yeah, fictional series, but very interesting things that it was talking about in there. Yeah, I can't wait to see that movie. I'm pretty sure I'll probably do a video on that, maybe on TikTok. I don't know. I'm kind of weird about doing stuff on TikTok now. Um, let's see. Michael says? Maybe because there's anti-science, anti-technology streak in the far right, and their influence results in distrust of people advocating natural immunity because we come across right-wing nuts. Um, it's an interesting take, but I look at it like this. You know, a broken clock is right twice a day. And I think many of those people just happen to be right on many of those things at that time period, and just happen to be right on, some of the PDF stuff. Although many people just kind of go with that over and over and over. And what I say is, I think that's kind of what do they call it? Missing the forest for the trees. It's Don't get me wrong. Do I not believe that those people who control things who are on a higher level are PDFs? Yes. But I think it's more than that. I think because people look at that as the worst things could be, that's where their mind only goes to. I think it's more than that. I think they're not only doing that. I think that they're torturing people. I think they're murdering people. Um, I think that they're experimenting on people. I think they're doing everything under the sun. I don't think it's limited to um I'm messing with a 16-year-old girl or a 15-year. I don't think that's what it is. I don't think that's the extent of it. I think that, what it is when it gets to that level is they want to know what is it that you desire to do or willing to do that's perverse, and how can we use it against you? Are you somebody who is running around talking about family values, but secretly you like underage little boys? How can we use that against you? Are you somebody who you believe in, oh, all life is sacred, but yet you like to torture small animals? I think all of that stuff is going on at these Epstein type places because I believe it wasn't just an Epstein. I just think that he was the one who was allowed to be caught, allowed to be, discarded. And I do believe he's discarded. I mean, I don't believe that they had to go through some elaborate ruse to sneak him out for him to set up. I believe that they got all kind of other people which they can always plug and play and put them right in information. I mean, all it takes is handing over all the files and information that Epstein had and the blackmail all these other people, and the new person says, "Hey, you know, same establishment but just under new management." That's how I see it going. I think that their parties and all that got kick-started all over again at a different place, and they let people just focus on this one person. The reason why I think that they allowed for, or why I think Epstein went down, is because of his connections with Trump. And if we think about it, Trump was the president which he went to prison, and Trump was the president which he died under his administration under faulty, weird circumstances. He's also the one who talked about, I'm gonna do the files, and then as soon as he gets in the office, kind of buries the files. Not kind of buries the files and scrubs them and does all this stuff. So the reason why I believe that Epstein is even a thought, or why he's a big thing, is because of his proximity to Trump, and because things Trump did were so open, and it had gotten outside of the sphere of control and blackmail of just Epstein. Other people had gotten wind of the information. I think it blew everything on open, along with Epstein himself just being sloppy. But in my heart of hearts, you cannot tell me that there is not a UK Epstein, that there is not an Australian Epstein, that there's not an Epstein in China, You can't. I just refuse to believe that they don't have multiple people doing the work of an Epstein. Let's see. Ooh, that sucks. Says I was demonetized last week for inauthentic content. Ooh, that hurts. I'm sorry to hear that. I know what you do is a parody, and so hopefully people will understand what you're trying to do. Um, says no, highly unlikely. Do. Great to see you, Accord Lord Wesley. Oh, Sam, what's up? Yeah, but and for the people who I've saw who have been new in here, much appreciation for taking the time to stop and listen. Whether you hop in for a little bit or you stay for the length, I'm glad to have you in here and glad to have your additions into the conversation, because this is what I look at it as. It's a conversation, and we're all talking about this, and we're all going to be in agreement on some things, and we're all going to disagree, and that's what makes this whole thing fun and interesting. Let's see. Let me see, be careful how I say this. How can anyone cope with all the Nash jazz? Is beyond me. I don't know either. Let's see. I don't know. I see different conversations going on, but let's see if I can follow. Mm. I guess I'll take this on. This seems fun. Libtards are un-American. You're wrong, dumbass. I think criticizing your government is very American. It's always been American. The whole point of having a government for the people by the people is for the people of the said country to dictate and guide the country. So therefore, if you're not complaining or controlling or adding your viewpoints, how are you being American? Because you're not adding anything to it. Other countries sit by, shut up, and just do what they're told. That's un-American. And it's kind of funny to me. I always hear people make these things of saying one side is un-American or whatever. The biggest thing that's been American always is being vocal about your opinion. I don't know. I think being a sycophant to any leader is un-American. That's not what Americans have ever stood on. So, dang, what's going on in my chat? You said, boom, boom, boom. Let me read this. Somebody said Obama had the information. Obama had the information for 8 years. Here's what you don't understand about how information works. You just don't release information when ongoing trials and cases and stuff are going on. Court systems have to release things. But of course, by this person, I assume that you don't understand much. I would definitely assume that. And if Obama was treasonous, pull him up on charges of treason. If that was the case, then I'm sure Trump should have no problem getting that done. But there we go. I interchange you, my fun little troll, and there. Hopefully that helped your feelings or confidence or whatever feel in society where you feel you're not getting attention. So I gave you a little attention. Hopefully that felt good. So now I'm going to put you in timeout because I don't feel like listening to you anymore. But anyway, yeah. Um, I agree. It's the deep state, technate versus the humanator humans. I agree. Um, I think that it's. Oh no, I guess I agree. I just use probably different phraseology, but yeah, I would definitely agree with you there. Yeah, yeah. Let me read this, which Mariah said. It's perfect. She said, "Doesn't it go? I'm proud to be an American. Um, yeah, because at least I know I'm free. Yeah, free means you are free to say what you need to say, not that you just parrot whatever the authoritarian government tells you to do. Like, I guess that person would probably agree with the girl who's looking at facing charges for making a joke. It's weird that a lot of the people who claim to be a party of, the Constitution, the party that's supposed to love the Constitutions, hates people doing what the Constitution, you know, advocates for you to do. It's always so weird to me. A lot of some of these people from the right. Oh, I didn't see the picture. I probably should have looked at it. I probably could judge his IQ points from the picture alone. And then some of these people will talk about, oh, you're so treasonous and un-American. What have you done that involved what? I mean, because most of these people have only worked in private industry. Most of these people have never served a term in Congress or went into local or national government or served the military. Most of them have never done any of those things. And then they'll turn around and say somebody else is treasonous and un-American. So rich. It's just like I wish I can sometimes understand like how that mind holds contradicting information in it. You'll in one breath say black people are low IQ and unintelligent, but then somehow can't explain to me we're black billionaires. How do some black people become billionaires coming from object poverty? And then in another breath, you'll tell me how, all black people are criminals and all this. But there's plenty of black people who are not. Then in another breath, you'll tell me, oh, well, y'all just say a lot of shit. Like I saw somebody the other day, huh, black people never fight one on one. I'm like, have you not seen a boxing or MMA match? Aren't those one on one fights? Aren't some of the top boxers of all time black people? Not saying all, because I'm not trying to be racist and put one above the other, but I'm just saying there's a whole lot of black people out there who defy these stereotypes that people love to say. I mean, I would rather, and here's one thing that I've always said, when dealing with people of different political ideologies, as long as I feel you're intellectually honest, I'm perfectly fine with having a discussion with somebody I completely disagree with, as long as I feel you're being intellectually honest. And you could say, okay, well, I think that we should do this and because of that. And I just don't agree with how these things are adding up, which you're saying. I have no problem with that. It's when you can't be honest about stuff, and then you're going to jump to basically what you're really holding back, some kind of bigotry or racism that comes from your emotion and whatever has been taught to you from, or maybe whatever one interaction you have with somebody has led you to have these hateful mindsets. And it doesn't attach to statistics or what's going on. It might be that one person who made you feel a certain way, and that's what you go with. And that I can't deal with. Oh, great one. Tyrants always love to peddle the freedoms they allow. Woo! Poetic, poetic, poetic. Um, let's see what Wesley says here. He says, "How about instead of a hammer and sickle, we go for a pair of pliers and screwdriver?" I'm loving the chats. I don't think I've done one where I've kind of opened it up to talk about, just whatever you guys have. Actually, let me stop sharing this on the screen. Let's remove that. Okay, let's see. Hey, Meteor Dreams. Says Marcus, did you ever see the chaos in that Houston weave store called the Hair Gallery? They had a grand opening and then a grand closing. No, I didn't see that. That sounds very interesting though. Um, I don't know. I've been just looking into interesting things like I don't know. Have you guys heard of the what is it? The boat elevator that they have in China? I've been kind of looking into that lately, and I just thought it was fascinating. Um, while we use our money in the United States for going around and trying to steal from other countries, and it's kind of weird because it's like we're going to go steal from other countries when the money we're using to steal from the other countries, if we just reinvested that money back into the United States, we would be so much stronger and better off than wasting the money to steal the money. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, and this is fitting to like that person who was in the chat earlier. Trump gets triggered by, and shout out to Thomas, Oklahoma, by the way. Said Trump gets triggered by liberal reporters, lol. Yet was calm and collected after the shooting incident at the conference with the public. I think I detect a possible false flag. Exactly. His people, his very people, get very sensitive and very angry, or very, very quick to anger. Oh, you're so un-American, and oh, you're a terrorist, and blah 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 blah, low IQ, oh, ghetto homeboys, and yeah, I already know, like dealing with a lot of these people on the right. Whenever they get mad, it's gonna go about two sentences before they start getting racist with me. I already know that. It's like, do you guys have something else, more intelligent way of like having this discussion to, why don't you make me look stupid by proving how unintelligent I am instead of just, going down to pedantic name calling. I mean, it's so juvenile. And the sad thing about it is most of these people that I'm sure I'm talking to are probably like in their 40s and 50s. It's like, you're too old to be this dumb. Come on. But that's why I said that Trump loves the uneducated. But yeah, I definitely detect a false flag, just like I felt like with Butler. And I think the reasoning for this false flag is because of people calling out Butler, believe it or not. It's like, oh, see, look, they tried again. And I mean, it's weird. The person is supposedly some guy who hops on a train and rides from California to Chicago to DC to wait for this. I'm like, I don't know who decides. I don't know what this is or how they get these people supposedly wanting to do it. I don't know. The whole thing just it never makes any sense. Maybe I need to pull that up and see if I can find it. Kurt said Palantir Manifesto way more craze than any gun spree patsy. Yes, exactly. Rob Peter to pay Paul. That's what I was talking about, Mariah, because I'm gonna go over to this country, right? To steal 100 million in oil, while at the same time, I'm going to spend 100 million in resources to steal that 100 million in oil. It's like, um, what did you do that for? Your logic doesn't make sense. And this is one of the kind of things that's kind of funny. Like somebody earlier in here, he was asking, did I like Trump? And he was like, I like some of the things he's doing. And this is why, though I can't stand Democrats, this is one of my issue with a lot of times when we have Republicans in office. Hold on one second here. I need to put my fan on. Let's get this is one thing. Sorry about that. This is one thing that I had an issue with. Growing up in a red state, one thing I always had an issue with whenever Republicans get into governance. Because Republicans spend so much time being anti government, they never learn how anything in government actually works. So, what happens is when they get into power in the government, it's almost like a monkey playing with the joysticks and controls. So they don't know how anything works. So just grabbing on this, pushing on that. Oh, oops, I broke that. Oh, shoot. Oh, if I do that, this is what oh, okay. And so they spend all this time getting the government trying to learn how the fuck it works and constantly fucking things up. Because just like how they complain about how socialism and communism and all those things are so horrific, and if they were ever implemented, they would destroy the whole thing, they would destroy everything. Most of their philosophies have never been put into play 100% either. And what happens is when they're put into play, they normally are disastrous. Cite back to cite back to Kansas, the Brownback experiment. When Governor Brownback basically took over Kansas, which has always been a super red Republican state. Got super majorities in the House, the Senate, governorship. And he did so horrific and almost bankrupting the state that the Republicans in that state said, we got to kick them out of office. And this is what happens right now with Trump. You've gotten to have a super majority. And you see what happens when people who never trusted the government gets in and have to run something they don't believe in. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, Palantir is something that we all really need to be keeping our eyes on more than anything. I'm seeing what you guys are talking about in the chat. And the Palantir is one of the most dangerous things that are going on. And the fact that the Trump administration is so tied to the hip with Palantir and some of the most nefarious people should make people more concerned. It's weird to me how out of power all of these people that we're talking about right now, and this is why I give respect to anybody who's bringing up Palantir and talking about it now, because I know more than likely you were talking about Palantir before Trump got into office, just like a lot of Trump supporters were worried about Palantir. And then once Trump gets into office, let's just ignore the shit. No. And that's the thing. That's where I said I like people who are intellectually honest. Stick to your principles. Stop being a hypocrite. If you had a problem with the whole Epstein shit, don't throw it out the window because now your guy is backpedaled and softened on the position. You know, don't sit there and say, "Oh, I don't want any more new wars," and then as soon as your guy starts one, make excuses for your guy starting one. And back in the day when I was a big time Obama supporter, before Obama got into office, like I've told this before, but for people who don't know it, I'll say it again. I volunteered for Obama. I door knocked for Obama. I did phone calls for Obama. Um, I debated people, on little smaller platforms on behalf of Obama. And then when Obama got in and certain things he did, like um, he doubled down in Afghanistan when he said he was going to get us out of Afghanistan. I criticized Obama for it. When you had Trayvon Martin happen and Black Lives Matter had to rise up during Obama because you have a black president who is not doing anything about black people being shot by police officers and them getting off, or getting off without penalty. When you had him say that he was going to close Guantanamo Bay and he didn't close Guantanamo. When he was drone striking American citizens even overseas because, oh, well, it's alleged that the father was a terrorist, so it doesn't matter if I kill his wife and kids. I had a problem with Obama then, somebody who I fought hard for them to get into office. The moment they betrayed things that I believed in, that were a principle for me, I called out my candidate. That's the reason why right now I can give some credit to a Tucker Carlson and some of those people who are now saying, you know what, I gotta wrestle with the fact that I put this dude in the office and he's doing what he's doing. He's not doing and if you say, you know what, I did vote for Trump, but he's not doing XYZ, I can have some respect for you. I'm going to question your judgment still. But I can respect that because anybody who says that Trump did, and love to my boy Pasta out there, but I remember Pasta, and we were supposed to talk about this. Pasta said, Trump did one of the biggest bait and switches ever. And I said, how? This dude literally told you, he talked out of both sides of his mouth the whole time. In order for you to only hear the good stuff and ignore the bad stuff, all of these people had to choose to ignore what he was saying. You made that decision. He didn't lie to you. You made that decision to ignore either what he was saying or what he was doing. We all saw his posture in the first 4 years. We also saw the how he would set up a negotiation and then attack, Iranian diplomats, how he killed Soleimani. We saw that. We saw him randomly bomb certain other areas. We saw him drop that Moab. We saw him do these different things. We saw him use bellicose language and then follow it up with action. And then this, I didn't think he would do this. What the fuck are you talking about? Those same people say he didn't think he would do this. They didn't give, and I'm not doing this to defend Obama, but I'm just saying, let that be another black president. You would not have given them that leadway to say one thing and just pass it off as, well, I don't think they would do this. We all know that. You don't give the benefit of the doubt when the shoe is on the other foot to other people. It's just like the police profiling issue. There's so many people who ride around this country on, bad license plates, or out of registration, no insurance, all that shit, ride around for years without ever getting pulled over by a police officer because of profiling. But somehow police officers are always really good at seeing black and brown people whose they tags are expired. And it's not because, oh, well, it's just more people who are, black or brown who are not following the rules. No, it's where you choose to look. It's like another old example I brought up, how Kansas City got so bad with meth. They start looking only in low income areas and double and triple. First, they started going through the hood, going through the projects, going through those areas, looking for, the meth. Then eventually they're like, all right, it's not there. So Where should we look now? They start looking in the trailer parks and stuff. They're finding some, but they're not finding where this massive amount is coming from. It took years and years and years before the police department start telling them, yo, we keep having fires in these big, wealthy suburban areas that it looks like a normal house when you walk into the first floor. But once you go into a basement, it's a full cook shop going on down there. It took for them to see that over and over and over before they decided, oh shit, maybe we got the problem meth coming out of the suburbs being pushed the opposite direction. And when they did, they stopped that problem. But Kansas City became one of the worst places for meth in the entire country because of that unwillingness to look over here, but always quick to look over there. And that's what America does as a whole. Some people get a pass where no matter how much goofing off or screwing up or whatever, you just, you got to understand, little Johnny, he doesn't mean that. Little Kevin, he was just angry. I mean, you give those little passes for one group, and then for the other group, well, he said this. Well, more than likely, that means he's probably going to. And so your guard is up on this other person that you're monitoring every little thing that they do, because you assume that they're going to be doing something wrong. Whereas this other person, in every example, you try to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not saying that's all, but there are far too many that do that. And that's what leaves this country in a warped, more dangerous state. Speak on it. Speak on it. Making billions on Wall Street from starting a war that crashed global economy. That's satanic forces. Yeah, right now you got a military member who was taking part on the raid. Him taking part on the raid, he bet on himself. He bet on his unit, which is kind of wild to bet on it in Kalshi. It's wild that they were even allowing that to be a bet. But he bet that him and his people were going to take Maduro down. And they did. But at the same time, there were other people who were betting on it too. And weirdly enough, none of these people are getting brought up. They were seeing huge spikes on Kalshi on people who obviously had, prior information. But yet this one soldier is the one who's brought up, this one Green Beret. He's the one who's going to be charged. There's evidence to believe that, that Barron is insider trading off his dad's information and getting ahead of the curve, that Pete Hegseth is, that many other people are. Let's not look their direction though. But yeah, let's go after this soldier. Let's go after this guy who's probably making, $80,000 a year, but let's ignore the millionaires. And then here's the thing about it. They didn't hit him for the insider trading. You know why they didn't hit him for the insider trading? And I'm going to give a shout out to Nate from what's his channel? What is it? Valhalla? I think it's Valhalla something. Actually, I could tell you exactly, because I want to give a shout out to him. He's an independent that he leans more to the libertarian side. But I found this channel. I want to say maybe about 6-7 months ago, and I value his intake. It's another one, Valhalla VFT. That's the channel. Nate, who's a former Green Beret, he was bringing this up. He said they didn't charge him for the insider trading. Basically, they hit him for gambling or something like that. And the reason why they didn't hit him for the insider trading, because that sets up, a premise to start going after people. I think Pelosi also was somebody who also benefited from this. I'm not sure if on this particular thing, but I do know that she's a notorious insider trader. But it's interesting. They're making money off of this, but when, some average Joe who gets that information, he tries to use it. Oh, no, we got to go after him. Just got to love the hypocrisy. Oh, yeah, that was sad news. Put that up there. RIP to Chanda. You know, sad to see, her go, especially how much she had been fighting, her cancer. And yeah, I mean, it looked like she had been getting better, and it's really sad to see. And so, I'll give a moment of silence for her. Yeah. Rest in peace. And my condolences to her family. I mean, it's a tough thing, man. It's a tough thing. That's why every day, man, hug your loved ones. Let them know that you love them, because any moment it could be any of us, going out. You said I must have aura. I get messed with the moment my tax expire. I mean, I guess it can be depending on where you are. Dang, I won't read you out there, Core Lord. I don't want them to come after you. Definitely don't want them coming after you. Oh, let's read this one. It says, Marcus, bro, I've been in them rich coke houses and meth houses. One guy was ex-sheriff. Well, that's something that I've also found too. You'd be surprised how many times that these these meth houses, these coke houses, blow houses, all that stuff, the cops know what's going on because they're involved in it. And then that also goes into the whole system as a whole. Not only do you have not only do you have, like, that disgusting Latina out there in Houston who is, racially, who wants to use her racial profiling and her hatred of black people to use that for excuses to go after black people. You got it within the state's attorney's office, you got that within judges and all that. And sometimes when a judge gets caught, there's that one judge where they circled the wagons, they protected her. And that's the messed up thing about this system, even sometimes when they're caught, that's not enough. There was that one cop I remember where dude had been setting people up for decades, that he had nothing but fraudulent bust. Now, hopefully they go through, granted, this officer, she'd only been an officer for like 2 years. Hopefully every single one of her arrests. I mean, if I was somebody who encountered her at all, I don't care if it's for a parking ticket, and you're a person, and you're a black person, I would have my lawyer bringing that case back up, and we're appealing that shit. And that's one of the crazy things about when you're open piece of shit racist like her. Are we going to get rid of racism? I highly doubt it. It's been here long before me, and I imagine it'll be here long after me. But at least, like, racists used to be smart enough to try to not be on camera being racist, because they knew that if I really want to hurt these black people and I want to throw them in prison, whether they were guilty or not, I don't want to do anything that's going to give their defense any kind of help in getting them off. I know, speaking of, like, this isn't math, but I remember when I was living in Florida, um one cop got caught running a marijuana ring. And this is, I know some people, depending on where you are, you're gonna be like, marijuana ring, what's the big deal? You know, in Florida, it was very, very illegal. Um, when I was living there, it's very illegal. And now I guess things have softened up and they, got ways where you can smoke legally. But I remember the era where it was super illegal. And I remember when that cop got busted for having like a whole grow organization going on, and he was facilitating most of the marijuana smoke in the white rural areas. Because don't let any of these different channels fool you. White people, black people, brown people smoke weed in about the same, in about the same proportions. There's no group that, oh well, they're smoking it way more than anybody else. When it comes to weed, it seems like across the board, everybody smokes it at about the same pace. So hopefully we cannot make that a racial thing. In fact, I wonder if I can find it. Especially since Google sucks so much now. I don't know if it will pop up, but I think it was it McClenny? Sure, busted. Yeah, I think it was McClenny, Florida. Excuse me. This is, let's see if I can find it. No. Crappy Google search sucks again. It brings up McKinney. I didn't say Kenny. Let's see if it shows. Guess this was 4 years ago. Did it find it? According to Sheriff Sheridan Vance Moore, is that it? I don't know. But anyway, it was like, I think they say he had like easily a couple hundred plants that he was growing. And I'm not talking about a sheriff's deputy. I'm talking about the sheriff himself was the one who went down. Let's see. Oh, shoot. I meant to put that on the screen. It says, if white people in Oklahoma smoking weed on higher average than natives and blacks, but the near past, the city and county targeted blacks and natives to fill the prisons. Yeah, I mean, to be actually honest, I think white people on average smoke weed slightly higher. On average, I know some areas, of course, is going to be much higher. But I'm talking about like nationwide per capita. I think it's like white people slightly are ahead, but I'm saying just overall, we are. I mean, most people kind of all smoke weed percentage wise about the same. So if I'm saying percentage per capita, let's say if it's like, and I'm throwing a random number out there, so don't attack me, everybody. Let's say if it's 35% of black people who are smoking weed, it was like 30, like 38, 39% of white people, and like black and brown people were smoking it at like roughly the same, like 34, 35. Then you probably are feeling good most days, I imagine, sir. Probably feeling really good. Oh, yeah, that's right. Let me mention it again because I said it earlier in the chat and I want to make sure that I reiterate it. I am going to work my best. I can't promise that I'm going to do it every day, but as more of these stories come out, because I only do a weekly show, I'm going to start trying to work on doing videos throughout the week. Little short videos. I don't know if I haven't quite figured out when or where or how I'm going to do it. If I'm going to do it like, I don't know, just pull over my car and do a car chat, or when I get home, like, I don't know, set up a background. I don't know, stop at a park after work or something and talk about it. But different stories that I see throughout the week, I'm going to start trying to drop regularly little, short videos, maybe like a little 5-minute video or something, um, to discuss different topics that I see that pop up that catch my attention. Um, Shout out to Ladarius. He gave me this idea. And I think maybe that will help. Uh, I think that'll help just get my viewpoint out on some of these things more, and then we can do follow-ups on some of this stuff later on in the week, because you know I might give an um initial like statement or viewpoint on something, and more information will come out throughout the week, like that whole David situation. I know that that's going to be a recurring situation, and it's gonna have more info coming out, especially as the arraignment, and once it goes to trial, the initial statements. So that'll be interesting. This whole war situation, there's always constant stuff that goes every day. Ah, that's funny. Speak of him, and he shall appear. I just shouted you out, Ladarius, about how I'm gonna take your suggestion of trying to do little videos, throughout the week. And I think so that it won't be so much of an extra push on me or whatever. I'm probably going to try to limit those to maybe a couple of minutes, maybe like a 5-minute video, um, throughout the week. Um, oh, and if anybody can help, my cousin, he's working on building up his business and trying to get some things for to help out his business. If you guys would like to help, please reach out and let us know. And I'll put you in touch with Ladarius. And I guess let me see if I got the let me see if I have the link. I asked my mom, and let me know if it's okay, Ladarius. I asked my mom to send me the link, because I figured I can share it, and we're a community. Maybe somebody be able to help out. Where's it at? Where is it at? Oh no, look in the wrong spot. That way. Oh, I guess she didn't give me a link. But yeah, if you got some kind of link that you have set up, please let me know. I would love to plug it for everybody out here so they can help out as a community. Let's see. Like 4 points need to what are we saying? Also got nothing to do with the take them. Oh, let's see. Yeah, I'll leave it. But I guess back onto this whole this false flag, or a possible false flag. I don't know if you guys saw. Oh, there it is. Thank you. And I'm gonna leave this up on the screen for the remainder of the show. If y'all like to help my cousin out, and if you can help my cousin out, please, donate. Um, I think my mom said it's to help with his construction business, right? Well, I think it's overall like general contract. He was explaining to me about some of the stuff that he's doing, and I'm proud of him. I want to see little cuz do well. Calling him little cuz like he like little. I mean, shoot. I don't know. You know how when you grow up with people, you still kind of in your head see them a certain way. Sometimes a little bit younger, and I mean, we close to the same age, but I still see him as my little cousin. But yeah, man, if you can help out, help a young entrepreneur, family man who's just trying to, do an honest day's work, you know, it's much appreciated. Um, I don't know, maybe Trump can get you to do work on his ballroom with theirs. That seems like that's his main focus. I don't know. It makes me wonder why he's so focused on this ballroom when he ain't even going to be in office that much longer. It's like, let's say, for instance, you don't get voted out. I mean, not voted out. I mean, you're gonna have you term out. But let's say you don't lose the you don't lose the House and the Senate, which I think is a strong possibility that he could lose the House and Senate. If he doesn't lose those and he doesn't become, you know, a lame duck president or possibly impeached and yanked out of office, you're not even going to be there that long. Why are you? Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to do all this construction? Oh yeah, let me put this on the screen. He says, "Yeah, I started up my construction business, trying to go commercial, mostly do residential right now. So yes, please help him out." But I don't get why Trump is so fixated on that. I don't know if he thinks like there he can just kind of like hide out there and not leave or something. I don't know. Is that kind of like a just in case, they try to impeach me and remove me from office, this will be like my bunker to protect myself. I don't know what he's doing there. I mean, he even said like for 150 years, all the presidents have wanted this. Like, no, the fuck they haven't. Like 150 years, like this wasn't even a thing 150 years ago. I mean, it blows my mind how this dude just lies as easy as people breathe. You know, you say a legacy thing. I mean, that's possible, but I honestly think when you put out such a chaotic legacy so far, why wouldn't other administrations come behind you to just destroy everything you've done? Why wouldn't that even occur? Like, if I knew that I put so much negativity out there that a lot of people feel a type of way about me, it would be in my head that more than likely everything I built, somebody plans to destroy it. And I don't get why that doesn't click with a President Trump. That's a theory. Let me see. Wesley saying this, a court lawyer is saying it, says his pattern of action and decision suggests that he does not plan to leave office in 2028. He seemed to take great interest in Zelensky's capacity to stop elections during war. Could this be a possibility of why people think that we may have went into this war? I mean, I don't hold that. I hold that the main reason why we went into it because Israel wanted it, and he's just doing the bidding of Israel. I don't put no more to it than that. I don't think this man thinks past that. I think whoever will flatter him and give him money, he will do whatever he can to, make you happy, to appeal to you, because this dude still comes across as that teenager who never got love and approval from his father and is still looking for approval. So I know some people in one breath are like, oh, well, Trump doesn't care what anybody thinks. He does care what people think. I think this dude truly wants to be loved, to be honored and appreciated. And when he doesn't get that, he retorts back to his anger, his tantrums, his bitterness. And he's like, well, if you're not going to love me, then you're going to fear me. You're going to hate me. I'm going to get some response out of you. I mean, that's like that ex-girlfriend who you stop answering the phone. So now she don't show up at your job and argue with you and cuss you out and badmouth you to everybody because what it is you won't give her that chance to come back. I don't know why I went there with that analogy, but that's what I thought about with Trump. He's like a scorned ex. Uh, Kennedy Trump Center, name on the money, Gulf of America, took away the penny, made himself into an oil oligarch by stealing Venezuela. Yeah, I mean, you make a compelling argument. I think that Kennedy Trump Center, that's going to be the first thing that is changed instantly. I think I wouldn't be surprised if somebody decide, you know what, we're gonna have all the money with Trump's name on it brought back just so we can destroy it and put back, money without it, or it turns into a new precedent of every president while they're in office name goes on the signature of the new buddy. I can see a possibility of the Gulf of America being changed back to Gulf of Mexico. I can definitely see that. The penny being taken away, I think that could be a move to getting rid of change as a whole, them wanting to get away from change and then eventually get rid of bills. So we eventually start getting away from fiat currency and start moving into some kind of electronic financing, i.e. crypto. He wants to be big in the history books. I think he's going to be big in the history books, no matter which way we look at it. I think he'll be big in the history books in a negative light. Like people are like, what the fuck were Americans thinking to put this dude as president years from now? I think that's what they'll be thinking. Like, wow, what was going on in that society where they thought this was a good idea to put this person in power? What up, Atris? Glad to see you, sir. If there are any more history books, he will be in them. Open the fucking straits, you crazy bastards. Yeah, that probably would be. We're dealing with a time traveler. Who's the time traveler? Oh, Cole Allen. I don't know. What if that was the case? Let's go with like supernatural, like fun sci-fi theory for a moment. What if this guy was like, what if he was coming from the future and he saw like some crazy event like Trump is going to launch nuclear weapons? Granted, I've seen that, he's had his fights with the generals and stuff, taking the nuclear codes and like, no, you are not launching shit. But what if he keeps firing and firing and firing enough of them till he gets that one who's like, third. I mean, you get what I'm saying? I know I probably shouldn't have said it that way, but he get that person who's just dumb enough to, go with it. He get that person who's like, man, I know this is a dumb idea, but I do like having the job I have, and I do like the perks that come with it. So I'm going to do it. Or the I'm just following orders guy. Jumpers. Hilarious movie. I mean, it could be. Yeah, I know. I mean, we can check that too. What the Simpsons say about it? Simpsons will tell us what his dumbass is going to do next. I mean, the Illuminati people who give them their propaganda to put out. Make no mistake, they're getting words from somebody who's manipulating things behind the scenes. Yeah, but I'm thinking this thing will be kind of like swept under the rug. This whole assassination thing, it'll be swept under the rug sooner or later. We won't remember any of this stuff. Well, I guess it can't be because it's different than the Butler situation. Well, with the Mar-a-Lago situation, this is similar to that one because they had a guy who was alive and he got jail time, and it was kind of more swept. Like most people didn't care about it. And I don't think this one anybody's going to care about it that much either. It seems like this one's kind of taking on a little bit more energy, and I think that would just be because of location, because this one actually happened in DC. I don't know. I just don't see. I don't see this one really having much to it and it making much of a difference. I don't think it sways those judges who have put, you know, holds on his trying to build this ballroom either. Also, hopefully, if he does go ahead with this ballroom, hopefully somebody makes some kind of safeguard where he thinks that he can just lock himself in there and they say, nope, here's a back door in. And no, we're bringing your ass back out of here. Qualified competition ballroom. Yeah, I think that court order could be nope, completely dismantle this shit. And then what? But I mean, if he decides that he's not going anywhere, he's gonna barricade himself in there. I could see a real reality where people are forced to make a decision. And what I mean by that is between Capitol Police, National Guard, and the Secret Service. Do you guys follow the dictations of a man who's in charge, who his power may be in question because legally it could be, revoked through whatever means, whether that be, his time has elapsed in office or he's been successfully impeached and removed. Then what do you do? Is the military going to act to yank him out of office? I don't know. It'd be interesting because it's just like I don't understand like the whole 2020 election, why he's so obsessed with that. I don't know. It's almost like and maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or give me, a antithesis if you guys think that it could be something else. I think that he's so concerned with 2020 because he feels like if he can prove 2020 was a stolen election, then it's like a mulligan and he gets like another 4 years. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. You're getting your 4 years per the Constitution. You only get 2 terms, 2 4-year terms. You don't get more than that. So it doesn't matter if you were able to find all these smoking guns to prove they absolutely did steal it from you. Yeah, okay. And okay, then somebody would need to get prosecuted or something. That does not mean you get 4 more years. And I know that sounds like kind of, I don't know, maybe that sounds like a reach, but I think that he's dumb enough that he might think that. I really like people are all thinking Trump is playing this 40 and 5D chess. I don't. I think this dude is fucking dumb. I think he's like, and I'm not saying like, oh, well, he's not that bright. I'm saying no, I think he's a lot dumber than the average person. A lot dumber. See. There it says, what I hate to think about is the world treating him like he did nothing after he leaves office like Bush. He'll get his library and go around speaking like he's done some good in life. Honestly, I don't think he got much life left after this. I don't see how this dude. I mean, he hasn't taken care of himself. And it doesn't look like he's trying to live healthy by staying up all night long, not getting any sleep, and on top of it, eating like crap. He doesn't do any physical activity outside of going to a golf course and riding around and swinging some clubs. So I don't see how this dude lives very much longer. I mean, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if in another year this dude has a heart attack in office. I think that's very, very highly likely. So this dude fighting and trying to cling on to another 4 years. How? I'm like, I mean, I'm trying to remember like what is the average lifespan of an adult male? Let's see what it is. Average So, average life expectancy at birth in the U.S. reached a record high of 79 years in 2024, rebounded to 76 years for males and 81.4 years for females. This dude is already 3 years past the average. I don't see how much longer he has. Now, granted, I just saw what was it, the oldest like World War II person died at like 109 recently. But come on, y'all. Who sees Trump making it to 100 years old? Who sees Trump making it to 80, 85 years old? And with the lack of and I'll see people say, oh, well, like I see, like, for instance, Kyle Kalinske talks about his dementia. I don't think he has dementia. I just think he's stupid. He's obviously following and understands what people are talking about. I don't think he's looping and jumping back to the 1980s every now and then or the early 2000s or whenever. I don't think that's what's happened. I just think he's stupid. I'll just ask. I mean, I don't know. Let's see. Wesley says, I expect to see military draft, which will spark protests, which will spark crackdowns and imposition of martial law and suspension of elections, possibly all before midterms. All of that is possible. All of that is very possible. But I think the tenor at the negativity, like he is losing support by, fast. And let any of the stuff that I've been talking about over the past few weeks or into the last month, since this whole thing has been going on with the straits being closed, let this continue on at the rate that it's going. I see it's a strong possibility with gas prices continue to go up, food prices, etc., going up, that his poll numbers will just eviscerate. And I think we'll find out what the true Trump floor might be. I could see a possibility of him hitting at his rock bottom, like 27% is what I would say. I can't see it being as low as 25. And I do see at its worst case being lower than 30. But that's going to take a whole lot for a lot of those people, because I think more of the people in the Trump administration, or not Trump administration, but Trump supporters within MAGA in general, they just have this, I think that they just refuse to admit that they're wrong, and they're willing to suffer a lot than to admit they screwed up. And so I think many of them are going to suffer quite a bit before they finally say, all right, uncle, all right, you twisted my arm far enough. I got to admit reality. Accord Lord says, if you ask me, Pearl Jam wrote Jeremy about Daddy didn't give affection. His mama was something mommy wouldn't wear. Oh, that's deep. That's hilarious. Yeah, it's not the 1980s Trump. Yeah, it definitely is not the 1980s Trump. Let's see, Marcus, you got to remember, think about Kissinger. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Kissinger made it to 100, over 100, I think, like 101. But Kissinger was somebody who took, like, I think that he was constantly taking care of his health. I mean, Cheney also. Cheney was very, like, cognizant of what was going on. They were known to both follow like their diets that their doctors would tell them. And I don't see Trump listening to nobody, not even his own doctor. So I don't know. I just don't see him making it that long. And if he does make it that long, then his level of dementia, once it kicks in, I don't think he's going to be competent of anything that's going on. Because once that gray, I mean, people who are not very analytical or who don't use their brain, don't for like playing games and different things like that, and using it in very cognitive different ways, that gray matter starts to build up, and you just start to lose it. And I just don't see Trump being able to hold it together, even if his body holds up longer. I don't see him as the same as a Kissinger or Bernie Sanders, even, or a Dick Cheney. I don't see him as the same as these guys who have had some issues being older in age and being able to carry on. Um, I'll throw out one of my favorite presidential candidates, Mike Gravel. I don't see him being in the vein of those guys, which live, many, many years and still were sharp. Like I think Mike Gravel was like sharp up until his like last days. I mean, and I think let's see, how old was Mike Gravel when he died? I think he was like 90. What was he like 96 or something like that? Uh Mike Gravel, age at death. Oh, he was 91. That's what I'm saying. I do not see Trump living an extra 4 years. I mean, so it would have to be the 2 more years of his term plus. I do not see Trump living 6 years. I do not see it. I don't see Trump living 4 years. He may get out of his term, but let's say he does live past 4 years. Let's say he lives 4 years. I don't think he's going to be cognitive or physically in any state to be running anything. And I think he's going to look probably worse than Biden at that point. Which I'm wondering how long before we hear, weekend at Bernie's Biden is fell apart. I would not be surprised if by the end of the year that we have, sad to bring you the news that former president Joseph R. Biden has passed away. I can hear that coming, a lot sooner than later. Zelensky wasn't the only one showing Trump how it was done. Netanyahu stayed in power 3 years after having a warrant issued for his. Yeah, but Netanyahu's actually, though he's one of the most evil world leaders we've definitely had in our lifetime, Netanyahu's a whole lot smarter than Trump. I mean, without a doubt, like leagues smarter than Trump and better political instincts. I don't see him. No, I don't. I can't go there with Trump, and because he's just too much smart. He's just far smarter in my opinion. He's been able to basically manipulate American medias, American statehood, I mean, intel leaders and all that for years. And granted, some of it is there's a little greasing of the skids by, people who advocate on behalf of the Israeli government throughout our Congress. There's so many who are on the take. That does help. Sorry, that does help Netanyahu, but I just don't see Netanyahu as being able. I mean, I don't see Trump being in the vein nearly as intelligent as Netanyahu. Let's see, I saw Jack in HFML chat in the past day or so. Yeah, hopefully she's doing well. I imagine probably the time that I scheduled this live made it a little tougher for Jackie to be here, but I think next week I'll probably be a little bit earlier. And I know with the draft just going by, of course, you guys can see by my drip. Definitely excited about football season coming back and excited on what my Chiefs did in the draft. It's just been an interesting draft altogether. But that said, I wouldn't be surprised time will be upon us again before we are starting to look at, switching back to Saturdays. And as we get there, then we'll go there. But I guess it's time for me to about wrap it up. I don't know. I guess I don't have anything else right now. I guess I'll say in closing, just look forward to the videos. And as I put out those videos, I don't know how the whole hype things work, but hopefully you guys will hype me up. Hey, what do you think about the video I sent you showing? Oh, okay. I guess I can comment on that too before I get out. Ladera sent me a video about the Orthodox Jews in there. They're burning the Israeli flag, and that's something that they've kind of been the ones who've been. And I guess it all depends on which Orthodox, because you got two sects within there within Judaism. You got one set of Orthodox Jews, which are part of the Chabad Lubavitch movement, which many of them are like ready to build ready to build the third temple already, and ready to start, destroy, destroy the mosque. Was it the Al-Aqsa Mosque? Plenty of them ready to do that. Then you have the Orthodox who they're like, hey, we're supposed to be waiting for a Messiah. We're not supposed to be trying to manifest destiny. And those are the ones you saw that have been protesting and burning the flags and all that. And they have honestly been, from day one, kind of like, nah, we're not with this. You know, I want to say probably like after October 7th, maybe a month after, they were already one of the first people out there criticizing, the nation of Israel. And they've been criticizing the Zionists from then on. So it's, I guess it's good to always see them, making their voices known, but I just want to see what happens when it's more widespread through the population of Israel, because many of them just seem freaking insane. Uh, I don't know. I'd have to double check that about Luciano. Meyer Lansky, I believe, is the one you're talking about. Um, I think he was affiliated with Kabod. Um, I do know that Meyer Lansky and a couple of others also did donate a lot of money towards the nation of Israel, and donated a lot to the foundations of the Israeli army and the IDF, or IOF as some people like to call them. And so that is direct mob money that came. Yeah, well, yeah, he helped. I mean, um, so in that terms, you could say that, the syndicate as a whole was definitely helping. The syndicate as a whole. And for those who don't know what I mean by the syndicate, I'm talking about the five families. And that's talking about the five families of the Italian mob and the Jewish mob, which was intertwined into the syndicate. Um, I would make an argument that what we saw with the what are their names? I'm trying to remember who's funding Trump right now, who been controlling the Republican Party on Israel for the longest, who if you didn't have their vote, you couldn't get elected. What are their names? I'm blanking on it right now. Trump gave her the Medal of Honor. Man, why come I can't remember her name right now? Adelsons. The Adelsons. Well, you start looking into a lot of the casinos, and most of them were mob backed. That's how they got their starting. Now, I'm not saying that they all are to this day, but um, a lot of that got kicked off by Bugsy Siegel, which he also donated a lot of money to the IDF too. Oh, I definitely believe that, Accord Lord. Um, the Godfather and movies like that were meant to put most of the onus of the syndicate on the Italians, to put organized crime mostly on the Italians instead. That I believe is a fact. And in the book that I read, what was it called? What was it, from Lansky to Sugarman? I think that's the name of the book. I'll look it up to be sure. From Lansky to. Yeah, the name of the book, From Lansky to Sugarman, refers to the memoir and career of Myron Sugarman, a man often described as the last Jewish gangster. That's what he self calls himself. And he's going through like this mob history of all the Italian mobsters and their input on the underworld and organized crime. And I'm trying to remember, what was that group of, what were they called? Let's see. It was a whole group of hitmen. Mob. What were they called? Murder Inc. I forgot. Yeah, for those who've heard of Murder Inc., and that's what Ja Rule and Irv Gotti, where they got their name of their organization. Murder Inc. was an arm of the syndicate that was, you know, the Jewish hitmen side. And they would literally take hits and go to various other cities because back in those days the mob was like it was in every major city and they were all connected. That it didn't matter if you were in like Milwaukee or Cincinnati or Cleveland or whatever, or KC or Detroit. All of that stuff connected back to the Italian mob in New York and Chicago. Yeah, to put that on there. But that's where it comes from when they were talking about Murder Inc. I remember a couple of the killers in Murder Inc. They the only time I've really seen them in a movie where they kind of threw them into the movie, but they didn't say who they were. Have any of you guys seen the movie Hoodlum? I'm gonna test the people out there real quick. You remember the movie Hoodlum? Starred Lawrence Fishburne, and Lawrence Fishburne was playing Bumpy Johnson, and you had the Madam Queen in there also. If you want to, if y'all remember that movie, let's see. Let me skip down to the see who remembers that movie. Hook? No, not Hook. Yeah, it's Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah, if you go back to that movie, there's a part where Bumpy Johnson, and he's on his rise up, and think about who he was fighting. Dutch Schultz, which Dutch Schultz actual name was Arthur Flegenheimer. But go back and you see who they sent to go after Bumpy Johnson. It was Murder Inc. The two ones who came in with the hatchets, those were members of Murder Inc., which were I'll just leave it there. But they often, a lot of times in these movies, try to downplay the Jewish involvement within the syndicate and organized crime. I know some people will say, "Oh, well, what about the Irish and what about this?" Yeah, there were other groups, but as far as who were the ones who were really holding it down, who were the powerhouses nationwide, not just like in a certain city, because yeah, you had the Irish mob that was, once they got kind of pushed to the sidelines in New York, they mostly popped up in like Boston, Philly, a couple of other places, but the Irish mob didn't have that full connective tissue of reach nationwide. Neither did like any of the black gangsters. Most of them were all independent of each other. But the Italian mob and Irish mob, once the syndicate was put together, they were tied together. And you look back to Lucky Luciano, Frank Costello, to Meyer Lansky to Bugsy Siegel. They even had another movie, if you look into that, where it kind of loosely tells some of their early beginnings. It's called Mobster. And these movies aren't entirely historical, but they're somewhat connected. Oh yeah, I've done the research of Core Lord. I did a video on it a couple of years ago, tying some things together. In fact, let me pull that video up. I suggest it often. It's not my most fluid work and not my best editing. But I don't know. I guess I'll pull it up another time. I'll pull it up another time. But a video I did about how many have so much power throughout America and throughout so many American institutions, whether that's into banking, whether that's in music, whether that's in sports. I mean, hey, NBA playing and all that was just going on. Look at the commissioners. Look at the commissioners that the NBA has had. I mean, hell, that's the only the group that's supposed to be 1.5%, 2% in American population somehow has managed for every pro sport in America to be the commissioner of it. Kind of weird. The probability doesn't even make any sense. And for anywhere from the low end to 35, 40% owners to 55% owners in most major league sports, it's something going on. But I'll leave it there. I will leave it there. Hop on out of here. Yeah, they definitely have the Heron, which but they get that because of, it literally grows in their areas. So that makes perfect sense. That said, I'm going to end it on that note. Much appreciation for everybody who tuned in, even the trolls, man. I mean, we had one troll that hopped in here earlier. Figure I give them that attention that they so desire, because they're such a pathetic individual that they need it. So I don't know, maybe it helps them from eating a piece of lead, saves them one more day that somebody who cares about their sorry existence doesn't have to miss that loser in their life. Or I don't know, maybe next time I won't give them that attention. Maybe it'll push them closer towards taking a long walk off of a short pier. I don't know, but sorry for leaving it on that note. But yeah, much appreciation and love to all y'all. Also, again, let me see if I can pull that back up. I don't know why I didn't start earlier, but I want to make sure that I put that on the screen as we go out, definitely. So you guys can help out a small entrepreneur, take care of people within our community. And let me put it on this. There we go. Share. So if you guys can help out, please help out my cuz. Help him grow his business, family man, doing good things. Hopefully more of us can break out of working for the man and start our own thing too. Let him be an inspiration to us all. And for all who can help, please do that. Let's see. Oh, it's Nature Boy in disguise. What's up, Nature Boy? Yeah, sorry. I'm getting ready to hop off, my man. Much love. I watched some of your live the other day. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. But yeah, on that note, I am dipping out. And again, make sure you guys check throughout the week. I'm going to start dropping little shorts, maybe about 5 minutes or so. I'll see how much I can compact in there. Maybe on my other channel, I'm thinking about for the California people, doing a breakdown of all the people who are running in this governor's race from their debate that they had that's something that I might start working on, cutting those videos later on tonight. I don't know. I'll see. But that said, again, much love and appreciation to all y'all. Y'all be safe out there, and hopefully don't fall for none of this craziness that's going on. Take care of the people that are around you, and make sure you get outside, touch grass, and build up these communities outside of just the internet, because when it comes down to it, we're going to have to rely on each other in the real life, not just on the internet. But again, much love and appreciation to you all. Thank you. God bless.
There is discrimination in this world, and slavery and slaughter and starvation. Governments repress their people. Millions are trapped in poverty, while the nation grows rich, and wealth is lavished on armaments everywhere. These are differing evils, but they are the common works of man. They reflect the imperfection of human justice, the inadequacy of human compassion, our lack of sensibility towards the suffering of our fellows. But we can perhaps remember, even if only for a time, those who live with us are our brothers, that they share with us the same short moment of life, that they seek as we do, nothing but the chance to live out their lives in purpose and happiness, winning what satisfaction and fulfillment they can.